Good morning, everyone. I acknowledge that we are meeting and talking today on the lands of the Kulin Nation. I recognise their continuing connection to the land and waters and thank them for protecting and being stewards of this country and its ecosystem since time immemorial. Their sovereignty was never ceded. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. I'm really excited to introduce Kimmy Lovegrove this morning, a Ngarrindjeri woman, comedian, entrepreneur and businesswoman in relation to the Koongarri entertainment. Thanks, Kimmy.
Thank you. Today was the day Nancy would never forget. Music was booming from the kitchen as her mother started preparing dinner. Stuffed capsicums was on the menu. Nancy sat at the kitchen table and began fidgeting with her thumbs as small lines of sweat fell from her forehead. "Mum," she spoke so little not even her black retriever dog could hear it. "Mum!" Nancy's mum jumped and nearly cut her finger as she was cutting an onion. "For fuck's sake, girl, when did you get there?" Nancy smiled, realizing just how quiet she can be. She loved to scare her mum. "So, Mum, I want to join the Tarkangeri dance group. You promised when I was 10 years old I could join." Her mum places the knife gently on the kitchen top and walks slowly over to the kitchen table. "Nancy, honey, I get you want to feel connected and all that. Mum, it's more than that. I was put on this earth for a reason. Uncle says it is my birthright to dance and walk with my people. Country is calling me," Nancy pleads with her mum. Nancy's mum knows what she must do. She made a promise to Nancy's father a long time ago. "Okay, you can go. Stay with your Auntie Jessie in Murray Bridge. She will pick you up from the station. Keep your phone on you at all times." Nancy leaps with joy. She hugs her mum tight. Nancy is her only daughter. Nancy's mum wouldn't know what to do if anything happened to her. Nancy took a massive leap on the platform at Murray Bridge Station and looked around for her Auntie Jessie. Nancy takes off and runs into her auntie's arm. "It's been too long, girl." They head to the car park and begin their journey home. Nancy saw a sign that said Rauken and some small kind of language underneath. The car drove into the area and stopped on a hill. Auntie Jessie got out of the car and Nancy followed her into a cemetery. As they walked up the hill in the cemetery, Nancy couldn't help but feel like a familiarity with the names. Auntie Jessie turned around and saw a confusion look on Nancy's face. "Auntie Jessie, why are we here?" Nancy asked. Jessie gestured Nancy to follow her until she stopped at a grave. Nancy caught up to her auntie. She looked at the tombstone they were both standing at. Nancy fell to her knees. It was her father's grave. Thank you.
Thanks, Kimmy.
Good morning, everybody. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge the country that we and us meet on today, the lands of the Wurundjeri people. I acknowledge the colonial impacts that they have suffered, just like my people. And I acknowledge the country is trying to heal, just like my country. And I acknowledge the resistance and the movements to progress equality in life, just like my country, are occurring in this country. I also would like to acknowledge that we have an online presence as well. So we have people streaming into this session from all around the Murray and right in New South Wales. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Ricky Spencer. Ricky is our yarn bomber today, and we'll start with Ricky. Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you, everyone. Here's a piece I wrote that was in The Age, and I've also reflected it to my birth mother, who I've never met. "I have spent most of my life living in the shadows of fear, looking over my shoulder as to who will attack me for just being Ricky. I am one of those people you may encounter living next door, shopping at your local supermarket, using an ATM, or sitting next to you on a bus. However, you will not see me in your child's classroom. Although I am a qualified teacher, an open transgender, non-binary woman of the stolen generation, 53 with disabilities, I am not welcomed with open arms in private school settings or public school spaces. I have applied for more than 52 positions and have given up on trying to be the next exceptional teacher at your school. Every time I go to an interview panel, I am confronted by the stares of heteronormative shadows of white privilege. My words get eaten up by your monotone, one-word polite responses. I feel your disgust embedded through your icy cold stares, and like an unwanted book, I am withdrawn from your gaze into the discarded pile never to be looked upon again. I wonder if perhaps my birth mother had experienced the same feeling of being thrown out like trash. When she held me in her arms, my heavy heart bleeds for her and I. Light shades of skin are all I am to you. My tears are the same as yours, but I have no connection to my past or present. I only live for an uncertain future. I am here, an enigma, no gender or place, just a moment of space. My mirror blinds the reflections of shades. I wish I had been born with my ancestors' dark tones. Nana, why don't you try and find me? I keep running as a child but could never find you. I would stop at the end of the street and cry out, "Do you not hear me?" It's many summers since 1968. Maybe I'm problematic to look at, but you may have a child or relative who does not identify with their assigned gender at birth, or who is struggling to deal with their identity, perhaps even from the light shades of First Nations. Is being transgender in our classrooms as a teacher or a student so problematic for you that you wish to exclude us? I still love you, Nana. I'm still running. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky. That was very moving and very powerful. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Young Black and Bold as part of the Black and Bright First Nations Literary Festival. Before we get into the main conversation panel, I'm going to introduce our yarn bomber for today. His name is Beau Winden, and he is a neurodivergent writer of Wiradjuri descent. He writes YA poetry and creative non-fiction, and he asks that if you see him out in public, you please excuse the nervous chihuahua energy he emits, which I think is an infectious energy. Please welcome Beau.
Woo! Thank you. Is this working? Hello? It's good? Oh, God, okay. All right, let me tell you some things that likely would have happened to me if I were born a couple of generations earlier than now. 1, my skin tone would have had me stolen from my family. My history would be shredded, and I would be trained on how to assimilate into a society that doesn't really want me to be a part of it, but also doesn't want me to be a part of my own society, my mob, either. Control is a core quality in this colony. 2, I would have been locked away. The disordered alphabet attached to my mind would have given me a ticket to an ice pick, and it'd be set on a path through my eye socket to sever the crazy away. Cut the repetitive actions and quickly curse thinking straight from my brain before it disturbs my surroundings, disrupts the denizens, destroys the delicate calm of a colonial system designed to draw up those that designate themselves the majority of this so-called democracy. 3, I would have burned myself to oblivion before I let either of those things happen. Hi, my name is Beau, and I'm a neurodivergent writer of Wiradjuri descent. That's how I introduce myself. My labels, my identity. Phrasing is very important if I want to fend off the fury of those not a part of my communities. So you see, I say Wiradjuri descent instead of I'm a Wiradjuri man because so much of my culture has been stolen from me that straight up calling myself a Wiradjuri man sets settler expectations that I doubt I can live up to, and I'm tired of arguing about it. This colonial commonwealth has created commands for what my mob should be like, for how much is enough for their satisfaction. You can't be full blood. Okay, first off, go fuck yourself. And when you finish, fuck yourself again. You can't be full blood, you fuckwit. What is full blood? We could split every vein in the city and what seeps out would all look the same. But still, you find ways to police us, desperate to decrease us, as if erasing us is the key to erasing your white guilt. I say neurodivergent because disabled or autistic sets up expectations that I don't traditionally match. Never mind the meltdowns that I muffle and shuffle into the corner. Nah, y'all don't want to see that. What did the police say? Disturbing the peace? A public nuisance. That's what they call me when I can't control my conscience and conform to acceptable standards. A public nuisance. And so I shelter the continuously looping rituals that consume me and my inability to just do something normal. It's normal, Bo. It's not a big deal. Why are you making it such a big deal? Just fucking do it. I wish I could. I really, really do. I'm exhausted. I am always so very exhausted. And yet still, even those labels that I've minimized provoke statements and questions from people that aren't part of my communities feel entitled to make. They've made it their place to police our positionings. It's funny, you don't look Aboriginal. It's funny, you don't look autistic. And if I were to choose to leave this mortal realm, they would say, it's funny, he didn't look like the type to do that. I won't though, because I've been told that Oblivion looks like shit. And right now, in this moment, me and my people, we're too proud to burn. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Bo. That's an amazing piece. So stunning. Beautiful.
Welcome everyone this morning. I want to begin by acknowledging that we're gathered here on Wurundjeri Bunurong land of the Eastern Kulin Nations. This land is sovereign and I want to pay respect to elders past, present and future. I also want to give a big shout out to all the amazing mob who have put this festival together, the Aboriginal people who are here in this room today. It's a really great honour to be here. Before we pick off the panel, I'm really excited to introduce a yarn bomber who's, going to entertain us. Hailing from the Kimberley region of northwestern Australia, BB Backhouse, a Bardi Jawi creator who's called Naarm Melbourne home for 10 years, began his creative practice as a classical pianist and composer. BB was awarded a West Australian Youth Award at 21 for his work as a music teacher to young Indigenous people. BB's debut solo publication, More Than These Bones, is due to be released this year. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for that introduction, Timmer. This is an excerpt of a new poem I've written called My Grandmother's Two Brown Hands. Your hands are different now, you said to me, as you fumbled around in your black leather handbag and balanced a Winfield Gold between the bounty of your lips. Your hands are different now. You must use them to survive, not sweeten. From where we sat on your apartment balcony, I could see the terracotta mask of the world was cracking open. And the slow pace of the Birrarung was quickening in its silence, and it was widening between the building that perched us high above the people on the street and all the other homecomings of fear. I am everything without you, but when I was with you, I was more than this. You were a foreign land that I first remember exploring in the Amazonian gardens of your estate at 375 Lock Street. You were wonderful and funny and short-tempered and demanding and elegant and everything a grandmother should be. I never once wondered why it was me you gently poured your soft love into, but Mum would say it was because I look exactly like my grandfather before he was taken from you, before you were ready to say goodbye. And it's funny how the design of fate works in repetitive sequencing, because then it was me who wasn't ready to say goodbye to you. You. You gifted me with more than your blood and your genes. You gave me a reason to believe in a higher purpose. You held a seat for me at the table in your heart, and you were there for me. You were always there for me. Even when I didn't know I needed you, I guess you simply knew. And that night, as the world and the people went crazy, ordering Chinese takeaway and watching mindless television, we sat side by side, heart to heart, Nan and Golden Child. And when my heart thumped in its exposed chamber, I leaned into the movements your hands were making. You sipped your cup of coffee, puffed your cigarette, and flicked the ash onto the tiled terrace. And you combed your hair in the dread of the little hours of that midnight confessional. And you weaved into the air the message I would take with me through the streets of every city I would visit. The trees and beaches and grasslands of the place we knew as home. The horseshoe drive-through of my apprehension, those words use every part of you to carry yourself. And that was how my whole 27-year-old self became no more solid than a blade of grass in front of your two brown hands. You, the woman who once wrestled me screaming into the world of a showery calm and into my mother's waiting arms, but who, at 7:15 p.m. on the 23rd of March 2018, would wrestle me, still screaming, from your lifeless arms and into safety. Where would my safety be then when it was only with you? Your two brown hands had held me up more firmly and more times than my own two white feet. But I remember every part of you and how you spoke to me on top of the world when you told me my hands were different and I would need to use them to survive, not sweeten. Well, Nan, I haven't sweetened. I've cured in the brine of my experiences, and I've become not sour, but mature and strong. And I have a taste that leaves a residue long after I've left the tongue of anyone who bites my spirit. And I have survived. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was, beyond words, was incredible. I feel really honoured to start in such a powerful way.
Okay, well, hello friends. Welcome to Black and Bright session on the legacy of William Cooper. We've got a yarn bomber that will start us off, and the yarn bomber is a lovely person called Coral Reeve. She's a Gunditjmara woman living in Geelong. She is currently completing her Masters of Arts in Writing and Literature. After 10 years of studying writing and publishing work, she aims to run an editing and publishing business. And she has a poem for us now in which she will yarn bomb us all to oblivion. Please, Coral, come up. Coral Reeve.
Thank you. This light's a bit bright. All right, the title of my poem is called Love and a Castle on a Hill. Period. Stop. It didn't make it. Period. Stop. The sperm raced to the egg, and now there sits a zygote. My lesson here, ladies and gents, and other defines, the egg never chased a man. Nothing too cliche, he hadn't begun to hit me yet, for the voice was loud enough to knock holes in the walls. That's why I avoided my family's calls. Facebook shouted, "Another them!" You retorted, "As long as he isn't black." Clearly, you do not understand biology, let alone monogamy. Flashback to the moment I sat in court. You had all your family around you, your enabling cohort. Oblivious was an understatement. stupid love toxins flowing through my veins. I am grateful Mother Nature gave me looks, books, and well, ignorance remains. The blastocyst has come and gone, and embryo starts to do its thing. I could go another Kiev, but my heartburn disagrees. Furthering my studies, I was completing my bachelor degree. Working for money, I was working for DHHS in the children category. You called me a bitch. I refused a kiss. You threatened to kill me, rip him out, and dispose of me like a useless Tupperware container. I left to find a castle on a hill. The fetus was now active and wanted daily fruit salad. Today, he still wants fruit salad. Back then, I clothed him out of a suitcase. Years ago, we lived in a castle on a hill. 2 pet dragons, food, and now. Period. Stop. Period. Stop. Period. Stop. Another thought of having him again is the possibility of meeting you, reliving what was once then. We once lived in a castle on a hill, 2 pet dragons, food, and now I dress him from glass robes.
Thank you, Coral.
Good afternoon. I'd like to start the session by introducing Stevie Woppett up to the stage. Yeah.
Hi everyone. This is a story that I wrote called Birdsong. A lone eucalyptus tree stood upon a small hill in the Valley of Thunder. Big sheets of paper bark hung loose off its thick, twisting limbs that reached high into the blue as its roots channeled the red velvet earth. From the ground, it looked as though the tree touched the sky. One morning, when peach light breached the channel of the Sky River, a tawny frogmouth perched on its strongest branch. Even if the brightest white of a dry season sun hit the tree with its melting gaze, the bird could not be seen. Only those attuned to its path, to its past and its future, would know where to look. Light was born within the womb of the eucalyptus tree to the tune of the old song. The woman rubbed her daughter's feet as she sung high and low, from soft to loud as she wielded the sounds with her tongue. The newborn cried and climbed its way up its mother's navel towards her lifeblood, toward her lifeline encased in skin and flesh until she drank deep. Amidst the break from pleasure and pain that had swallowed the women up whole, the breeze carried down the owl's harmony as a gift, as if to say, I know. The owl echoed the tune each day at dusk and dawn until one day she could sing no more. Morning, she rose with the tide of the sun, her melody vanishing with the last thunderstorm the valley would see for years. They sailed through the southern harbour that day, on giant ships made of iron and rubber, fueled by black rocks ripped from the earth's core. A flag of blue, red, and white was struck in the sand, like a spear in the flesh of an enemy. At first, we thought them ghosts, spirits swollen into being, of death and curse and skin and bone. If their minds were a foreign darkness, then their language was a fist. Below the rocks and clay lay 1,000 bones of giants. The land that keeps our treasures deep was not safe from metal claws, nor our bodies from gun or sword. The New World Order tried to annihilate the old ways. Though our families were torn, our language criminalised, and our spirits hunted, they did not succeed. We now dwell on the fringes of society, prisoners in and of our own lands. The Manning River is our blood right, and we will not be removed. This is where our story begins, and where it must end. Thank you.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much, Stevie. That was absolutely fantastic and a beautiful way to start the day. Back home where I come from in the Kimberley, we have a word called lian. It's a word that we use when you're feeling safe and protected. It's also a word that you use to notify you of, sort of fear and things like that. So I'm feeling like my lian is in a really good place, and thank you for that.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Black and Bright, A Big Life. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on unceded sovereign lands of the Wurundjeri people, and I'd also like to acknowledge the Bunurong people and all other members of the Eastern Kulin Nation. Getting into the panel this afternoon, I'd love to introduce Lenora Thacker for her yarn bomb. Lenora is a Mobiaglug Meriyam woman born and raised on Yidinji and Yiraganji country in far north Queensland. I hope I said that right, Lenora. Her passion has been documenting her family's history over many years, working with elders to help bring their stories to life in DVD and television documentaries, and working on her own fiction and non-fiction writing. Lenora believes that Zenatke's voices are too few and far between on the literary landscape, and that, to quote Toni Morrison, if you cannot find the book you want to read, you must write it. Please welcome Lenora.
Thank you, everyone. Ancestors are with me. So I want you to imagine it's 1938 and we are in a shanty town for Torres Strait Islanders and other coloured people on the fringe of just another racist little town somewhere in North Queensland. So 16-year-old Pearl was caught by her brother with a Kole boy, that's a white boy, at a dance last night. And the brother has taught the Kole boy a lesson he won't forget. And this is the morning after. By them, quick, by them are coming. Balajoey raced into the house, bolted the door, and with eyes darting around the room, tried to figure out his next move. What the bloody hell? Daddy Barge roused from his brand new second-hand armchair. Lord's sake, Joey, what the police want you for? Mama Rose put down her cup of tea and jumped to her feet, preparing for battle. Ask her, Balajoey said, jabbing his finger in Pearl's face. All eyes were on her like a lynch mob, only this time it was family itching for a lynching. Not my fault you get bombed up and want to fight everybody, Pearl hit back at him, still feeling his fury from last night in her swollen cheekbone. F you, Guttawarra, Balajoey came at her, readying his backhand. Oi, oi, Daddy Barge stepped between them. I do the flogging round here. And what's your language? Said Mama Rose, making time for propriety. Granny winced. She couldn't abide a foul mouth either, especially on Sundays. Geez, Mama, black fella get bashed, no one gives a frig. White fella gets a small dustin' up, it starts raining coppers, pleaded Joey, like he was already on trial. The sudden rapping at the front door sent everyone scrambling, with Mama Rose bundling up the last pieces of damper into a tea towel and shoving it into Balajoey's hands. Here, now, out the back, cross the creek, look for Uncle Charlie's humpy and stay put. The door rapped again, followed by a voice. Hello in there, Constable Jim Archer here. Would like a word with Joey Abel. Pearl's mind flashed up a vision of the Kole Jim Archer as a skinny postie riding his pushbike around town, losing everyone's mail and trying to humbug her as a young gal. Now in a copper's uniform, she held little hope he would do better as a lawman. Kazage boy, Granny motioned as she held the back door open after checking there was no Bizem there. Balajoey flew out the back. Pearl watched him go, barefoot and shirt lifting from behind, gliding like a flying fox, vanishing into the forest. Eso.
Thank you so much, Lenora, for that beautiful story. very, very amazing way to introduce this event and to kickstart off this conversation. So thank you again so much. And say hello to Layla for me.